Wealth does not belong to the smartest. Wealth does not belong to the luckiest. Wealth belongs to the most disciplined. If you cannot control your spending, you will never control your future. If you cannot delay gratification, you will never escape mediocrity. This audiobook is not about making money fast. It is about building a mind so strong, so disciplined, that money has no choice but to follow you. The power you seek is already in your habits, already in your decisions, already in your discipline. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop spending like you're rich. Most people sabotage their financial future by pretending to live in wealth they have not earned. Real wealth is built by restraint, not by display. Discipline with money is invisible at first. Repeat the phrase, every dollar you waste today is a prison you build for yourself tomorrow. Chapter 2. The enemy is impulse. Instant gratification destroys long-term growth. The undisciplined mind falls for every urge. Use real-world examples, credit card debt, lifestyle inflation, impulsive investments. Reinforce. Control the impulse, control the outcome. Chapter 3. Save relentlessly, spend reluctantly. Saving is not optional. It is the foundation of all financial power. Wealthy individuals view savings as non-negotiable discipline, not sacrifice. Repeat. The disciplined save first, the undisciplined regret later. Chapter 4. Build habits that pay you back. Discipline is not one time. It's a system of repeatable financial behaviors. Examples: automated savings, weekly expense reviews, pay yourself first. Phrase: habits are wealth machines. Build them, or be broken by them. Chapter 5. Learn the language of money. Financial intelligence requires learning how money moves and grows. Reading, studying, and tracking money is discipline disguised as knowledge. Reinforce. The disciplined mind studies. The careless mind pays the price. Chapter 6. Eliminate noise, focus on the long game. Discipline means ignoring hype, distractions, and quick fixes. Real investors don't chase trends, they commit to principles. Phrase: noise destroys discipline. Focus builds fortunes. Chapter 7. The discipline of patience. Wealth is slow, not instant. Compounding rewards the consistent, not the restless. Case study: Warren Buffett's patience versus short-term traders' failure. Repeat. Patience is profit. Impatience is poverty. Chapter 8. Master emotional control in money. Fear, greed, and envy are the biggest destroyers of financial discipline. Emotional investors always lose to the calm, methodical, and disciplined. Reinforce. Your emotions are the tax you pay when you refuse control. Chapter 9. Quiet discipline is louder than flashy success. True wealth doesn't scream. It whispers through freedom, choices, and peace of mind. Contrast the flashy spender versus the quiet builder. Repeat. Quiet wealth is real wealth. Flashy wealth is fragile wealth. Chapter 10. Discipline is freedom. Financial discipline isn't restriction. It's liberation from stress, debt, and fear. Discipline creates freedom to choose how to live, where to live, and what to do. Final phrase to ingrain. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is freedom. Chapter 1. Stop spending. Like you're rich, most people are broke. Not because they don't earn, not because they don't have opportunities, but because they spend like they are already wealthy. They confuse looking rich with being rich. And that confusion is the single fastest way to financial slavery. You have a choice. You can keep pretending, or you can start building. Every time you pull out your card to impress someone, you are digging a hole for yourself. Every time you buy to prove your status, you are proving your weakness. The car, the shoes, the gadgets, they don't make you rich. They make you dependent. They make you fragile. Stop spending like you're rich. That is the command. That is the discipline. Real wealth is invisible at first. It hides in the bank account. It grows in the investments. It multiplies in silence while everyone else is busy showing off. The people who look the richest on the outside are often the poorest on the inside. That's the truth nobody wants to admit. Look around. The people with the flashiest lifestyles are drowning in debt. The big house, the shiny car, the designer bag. It is often a disguise. They are owned by their payments. They are slaves to their lifestyle. They cannot walk away. They cannot breathe without their next paycheck. That is not wealth. That is a cage. Wealth is freedom. Wealth is silence. Wealth is the ability to walk away, the ability to choose, the ability to say no. And freedom only belongs to the disciplined. You have to understand this. Wealth is not about how much you spend. Wealth is about how much you keep. That's the key. Say it again. Wealth is not about how much you spend. It's about how much you keep. If you want to build wealth, you must master restraint. You must master the art of saying no. No to the unnecessary purchase. No to the impulse. No to proving yourself through possessions, because every dollar you waste today is a prison you build for yourself tomorrow. And every dollar you save today is a weapon you load for your future freedom. That is the game. That is the discipline. Let me be clear. It doesn't matter how much you earn if you can't control how much you spend. A man earning $50,000 but saving $20,000 is wealthier than the man earning $200,000 but spending $250,000. One is free. The other is enslaved. It's not about income. It's about control. It's not about status. It's about discipline. You have to stop chasing approval with your purchases. You don't need their permission. You don't need their applause. Nobody cares about your car. Nobody cares about your watch. They might glance. They might nod. But in reality, they go back to their own problems, their own bills, their own lives. You are not buying their admiration. You are renting their attention. And the rent is expensive. Stop it. Stop spending like you're rich. If you want wealth, you need to become boring on the outside and powerful on the inside. The wealthiest people you'll meet often wear simple clothes, drive practical cars, live in modest homes. Why? Because they don't need to prove. Their money works for them. Their discipline protects them. Look at Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in history. He still lives in the same house he bought decades ago. He doesn't need the mansion. He doesn't need the fleet of cars. His wealth speaks louder than his lifestyle. That is discipline. That is power. But here's the truth. Most people will not do this. Most people will keep pretending. Most people will keep spending. Most people will stay broke. And that's why wealth is rare. You must decide if you are different. You must decide if you are disciplined. From today, every time you're about to buy something, ask, does this build my wealth or destroy it? Does this serve my freedom or chain me deeper? That question is discipline. That question is power. The next time you're tempted by the latest phone, the unnecessary upgrade, the night out you can't afford, pause. Ask yourself, am I spending like I'm rich or am I building so I can be rich? Because here is the law. If you keep spending like you're rich, you will stay broke. If you start spending like you're broke, you will become rich. That's the paradox. That's the discipline. You have to rewire your identity. Stop saying, I deserve this. Stop saying, I'll figure it out later. Start saying, I deserve freedom. I'll figure out discipline now. That's the shift. That's the transformation. Wealth is not about showing off today. Wealth is about walking free tomorrow. Remember, you have a choice. Right now, in every purchase, every decision, every impulse, you can stay in the cycle or you can break it. You can pretend or you can build. Stop spending like you're rich. Start building like you're disciplined, because discipline is freedom, and freedom is wealth. And when you understand that, you will never envy the flashy spender again. You will pity them, because you will know the truth. They are prisoners of their own weakness. And you are free because of your discipline. That is the foundation. That is where wealth begins. You have mastered the first law. Stop spending like you're rich. Now it's time to dig deeper, because spending is just the surface. The real enemy hides inside you. The real enemy is the urge, the impulse, the desire that whispers, do it now. And that's where we go next. Chapter 2. The enemy is impulse. Impulse is the enemy. Write that down. Remember it. Repeat it to yourself until it burns into your mind. Impulse is the enemy. It is not the economy that destroys most people. It is not their job. It is not their lack of opportunity. It is impulse. The urge to act without thinking. The craving to satisfy the moment. The inability to say no. That's why most people stay broke. That's why most people never build. Because they are slaves to their impulses. You have a choice. Every single day, you can let impulse run your life, or you can learn to control it. That is the key. Control the impulse, control the outcome. Let's be clear. Instant gratification destroys long-term growth. Every time you say yes to the urge, you are saying no to your future. Every time you satisfy the moment, you sabotage tomorrow. Credit cards prove this. The credit card industry is built on your impulse. They know you can't resist the upgrade, the dinner, the trip. They know you will buy first and worry later, and they profit from your weakness. The undisciplined mind swipes without thinking. The disciplined mind asks, do I need this? Does this build my wealth? Impulse says, I want it now. Discipline says, not yet. And only one of those voices leads to freedom. Think about lifestyle inflation. You get a raise. You finally earn more. And what do most people do? They increase their spending. They move into a bigger house. They buy a more expensive car. They inflate their lifestyle to match their income. And suddenly they are still broke, just at a higher level. That's impulse. That's slavery. Control the impulse. Control the outcome. Now let's talk about impulsive investing. It is one of the fastest ways to lose money. People hear about a new stock, a trending crypto, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They throw their money in without study, without patience, without discipline, and then they lose. Why? Because impulse is not strategy. Impulse is gambling. Discipline means waiting. Discipline means research. Discipline means ignoring the noise, ignoring the hype, ignoring the crowd. That's the difference between the person who builds wealth and the person who loses it. Impulse feels good now. Discipline feels good forever. Let me repeat that. Impulse feels good now. Discipline feels good forever. That's the law. That's the truth. And you know this in your own life. Every time you have given in to impulse, you have paid the price, the purchase you regret, the debt you carry, the money you lost. And every time you resisted impulse, you won. You felt stronger. You saved more. You built momentum. That is proof. You don't need more money. You need more control. You don't need more luck. You need more discipline. Control the impulse, control the outcome. Impulse is emotional. Discipline is rational. Impulse is about now. Discipline is about always. Impulse is weakness. Discipline is strength. Which one will you choose? Think of your life like a war. The enemy attacks every day. The enemy whispers, spend it now. Buy it now. Invest it now. Don't wait. Don't think. Just act. That is the voice of destruction. That is the voice of poverty. But you are not helpless. You are not a victim. You have a choice. Every time the impulse rises, you can pause. You can breathe. You can say, not this time. Not today. Not anymore. That's discipline. That's freedom. Here is a simple rule. When you feel the urge to spend, wait 24 hours. Just wait. Don't act on impulse. Because if it truly matters, it will matter tomorrow. But if it was just impulse, it will fade. That one rule can save you thousands. That one rule can change your future. Another rule. If you cannot buy it twice, you cannot afford it once. That destroys impulse spending. That forces discipline. And one more. Never invest in what you don't understand. If you can't explain it simply, you are being impulsive. And impulse is the enemy. Repeat it. Control the impulse, control the outcome. The undisciplined mind falls for every urge. The disciplined mind ignores the urge and builds a fortress. That's why most people lose and a few people win. Your life is proof. Your past is proof. You know the times impulse owned you. You know the regret. You know the cost. And you also know the times you showed discipline. The strength. The pride. The freedom. That's your evidence. You don't need permission to be disciplined. You don't need anyone's approval. You just need to decide. Every moment is a test. Every purchase is a test. Every investment is a test. And you either pass with discipline or you fail with impulse. This is the battle you fight every day. Not against the world, not against your boss, not against the system, against yourself, against your own urges, against your own weakness. The battle is impulse versus discipline. Which side are you on? Because if you keep giving in to impulse, you will always live in regret. But if you learn to master impulse, you will live in freedom. That's the choice. That's the discipline. That's the power. Impulse is the enemy. Discipline is the weapon. Use it. And when you master this, when you truly learn to control impulse, you will notice something powerful. You will stop being anxious. You will stop being desperate. You will stop living paycheck to paycheck, because you will finally be in control. Impulse enslaves. Discipline frees. Remember, control the impulse, control the outcome. You have faced the enemy. You have learned to resist it. But the battle isn't just about resisting the purchase or the investment. The battle is about building something stronger, building the daily systems that protect you, and that's where we go next. Because impulse is the enemy, but habits are the shield. Chapter 3. Save relentlessly, spend reluctantly if you want wealth. You must learn one truth. The disciplined save, the undisciplined regret. Let me repeat that so it sinks in. The disciplined save. The undisciplined regret. Saving is not optional. Saving is not a nice to have. Saving is the foundation of all financial freedom. Without saving, you are powerless. Without saving, you are trapped. Without saving, you will always depend on others, on the paycheck, on the boss, on the bank. You have a choice. You can spend today and regret tomorrow, or you can save today and buy your freedom tomorrow. That's the choice. That's the discipline. People love to complicate wealth. They love to make it about luck, timing, or insider secrets. But here's the truth. Wealth begins with saving. Wealth begins with saying, I will keep more than I spend. You don't need to earn millions to build wealth, but you must learn how to keep what you earn. That's the real difference between the wealthy and the broke. The broke spend relentlessly and save reluctantly. The wealthy save relentlessly and spend reluctantly. That's the formula. That's the mindset. Let's be honest. Most people treat saving like an afterthought. They spend first, they save whatever is left over, if anything. That's why they never build momentum. That's why they never escape the cycle. Because saving is not their discipline, it's their leftover. Discipline means reversing the order. Pay yourself first. Save first, spend what remains. You don't wait to see if something is left. You force it. You create the habit. You make saving non-negotiable. That's the difference between mediocrity and mastery. Let's use a real-world example. Two people both earn $60,000 a year. One spends $55,000 and saves $5,000. The other spends $40,000 and saves $20,000. In 10 years, who is wealthy? The saver who sacrificed. The saver who practiced discipline. The saver who chose freedom over appearances. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. That's the law. That's the truth, but let me push you harder. Because saving is not just about the money. It's about the mindset. Every time you save, you are telling yourself, I am in control. I own my future. I am disciplined. And every time you waste, you are telling yourself, I am weak. I am impulsive. I am enslaved to now. You have a choice. You always have a choice. You must save relentlessly. Relentlessly means without excuse. Relentlessly means no matter how small the amount, you build the habit. Relentlessly means you treat saving like survival, not like luxury, and you must spend reluctantly. Reluctantly means with hesitation. Reluctantly means with analysis. Reluctantly means you don't let your money leave your hands without a fight. Every dollar has a purpose. Every dollar is a soldier, and you are either sending your soldiers to fight for your future, or you are sending them to die in the battle of impulse and waste. The undisciplined spend their soldiers recklessly. The disciplined deploy their soldiers strategically. Which one are you? Here's the truth. Saving is not easy at first. It feels restrictive. It feels like you're missing out. But here's the paradox. The more you save, the freer you feel. Because you are no longer living on the edge. You are no longer controlled by the next bill, the next paycheck, the next emergency. You are building a fortress. That's the real power of saving. It's not the number in the bank. It's the control it gives you. It's the quiet confidence that says, I can walk away. I can breathe. I can choose. And if you want to accelerate your growth, here are 3 rules of relentless saving. Automate it. Don't rely on willpower. Set up automatic transfers into savings or investments the moment your income arrives. Discipline is easier when it's automatic. Increase it. Every time your income goes up, increase your savings rate before you touch your lifestyle. Capture the growth. Don't inflate it away. Protect it. Savings are not for random spending. Savings are seeds. Seeds must be planted, not eaten. Follow those 3 rules, and you will separate yourself from 90% of people. Because most people cannot follow even one. Let me be blunt. If you cannot save, you cannot be wealthy. If you cannot save, you cannot be free. It doesn't matter how much you earn, how smart you are, how ambitious you are. Without savings, you are stuck. That's the discipline. That's the test. But here's the beauty. Once you make saving automatic, once you make it a part of your identity, it stops feeling like sacrifice. It becomes power. It becomes pride. It becomes momentum. And here's something most people will never understand. Saving doesn't just protect you, it creates opportunity. Because when the market dips, when investments open up, when chances appear, the disciplined have cash ready. The undisciplined do not. That is why saving relentlessly is not boring, it's strategic. It's preparation for the future you want. The disciplined save, the undisciplined regret. Remember that. Repeat it until it becomes who you are. Because saving is not just a money habit. Saving is a self-respect habit. Saving is the way you prove to yourself that you are worthy of freedom. Spend reluctantly. Because every time you spend, you must ask, does this build me or does this break me? If it doesn't build you, don't do it. And when you master this, when saving becomes automatic and spending becomes careful, you will feel something powerful, control. And that control is wealth. Because remember, discipline is freedom. Freedom is wealth. You now know the secret. Save relentlessly, spend reluctantly. You are no longer living like the average. You are building like the wealthy. But savings alone are not enough. Because saving is defense. To win the game of wealth, you also need offense. You need habits that multiply, systems that pay you back, actions that build momentum on their own. That is the next discipline. That is the next step. Chapter 4. Build habits that pay you back. Discipline is not a single decision. Discipline is not one moment of control. Discipline is a system, a structure, a set of habits that repeat whether you feel like it or not. That's the key. Wealth is not built by luck. Wealth is not built by random effort. Wealth is built by habits that pay you back. Most people fail because they rely on motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Motivation is emotional. Motivation is weak. Habits are stronger than motivation. Habits don't ask for permission. Habits don't wait for feelings. Habits repeat, and repetition is power. You have a choice. You can live by impulse, or you can live by habit. If you live by impulse, you will always be broke. If you live by habit, you will always grow. That's the truth. That's the law. So what habits must you build? What habits actually pay you back? Let's make it clear. Let's make it simple. Habit 1. Pay yourself first. The wealthy don't wait to see what's left. They save first. They invest first. They pay themselves first. That is discipline. That is priority. You take a percentage of every dollar you earn, and you lock it away for your future. It doesn't matter how much. It doesn't matter if it's $5 or 500. The act is what matters. The repetition is what matters. Repeat this until it becomes automatic, until it feels unnatural not to save. Until paying yourself first is as normal as breathing, because every dollar you keep is a seed. And seeds grow into freedom. Seeds grow into wealth, but only if you plant them consistently. Habit 2. Review your numbers. Weakly wealthy people know their numbers. Broke people ignore their numbers. That's the difference. If you don't know where your money goes, you cannot control it. If you don't control it, it will control you. Once a week, sit down. Look at your income. Look at your expenses. Track your progress. See where your soldiers, your dollars are going. This habit pays you back because awareness is power. The moment you track, you notice the leaks. You notice the waste. You notice the patterns. And what you notice, you can control. That's the discipline. That's the habit. Habit 3. Automate discipline. Don't leave discipline to chance. Don't depend on willpower. Willpower is weak. Automation is strong. Set up automatic transfers to savings. Set up automatic investments. Set up bills on autopay so you never fall behind. Build a system so discipline happens without thought. When discipline is automatic, wealth becomes inevitable. You see the pattern? Habits that pay you back are not dramatic. They are quiet. They are boring. They are relentless. And that is why they work. Most people look for big wins, big breaks, big moments. That's why they fail. Because wealth is not in the big, it's in the small, repeated without fail. The coffee you skip and save. The bill you negotiate lower. The investment you make every month without excuse. Small actions repeated for years turn into freedom. That's the discipline of habits. That's why habits pay you back. Let's be honest. You already have habits. But most of your habits pay you nothing. Scrolling, watching, wasting, eating out, impulse buying. Those are habits too. But they drain you. They weaken you. They pay nothing back. The undisciplined build habits of loss. The disciplined build habits of gain. Which one are you? You don't need to overhaul your life in one day. You don't need to become perfect overnight. You just need to begin. Replace one weak habit with one strong habit. Replace one costly routine with one profitable routine. That is the path. That is the transformation. Habits are wealth machines. Build them or be broken by them. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up motivated to brush. You don't ask yourself if you feel like brushing. You just do it. That's a habit. Imagine if saving, investing, tracking, and controlling your money were as automatic as brushing your teeth. That is the level of discipline you must aim for. Because here's the truth. Once a habit is locked in, it no longer requires force. It runs on autopilot. and autopilot wealth building is unstoppable. But let me warn you, habits take time to build. They require patience. They require consistency. And that's why most people quit. They want fast results. They want excitement. They want the shortcut. But there is no shortcut. There is only discipline repeated until it becomes identity. You must fall in love with the process. You must respect the boring. You must honor the routine, because wealth is not about what you do once. Wealth is about what you do always. So build the habits that pay you back and never stop. Here's how you start today. Pick one habit you know will change your finances. Maybe it's saving first. Maybe it's weekly reviews. Maybe it's cutting one expense and redirecting it to investments. Choose one. Lock it in. Schedule it. Automate it. Make it non-negotiable. Stick to it until it becomes who you are. Until it no longer feels like effort. That's the formula. That's the discipline. That's the weapon. Remember this. Weak habits create weak lives. Strong habits create strong wealth. You don't need their permission. You don't need the perfect system. You just need the discipline to begin. Because habits don't just pay you back in money. They pay you back in confidence. They pay you back in control. They pay you back in freedom. Discipline is not in the big decisions. Discipline is in the daily habits. That's the secret. That's the truth. That's the power. So build habits that pay you back. Build them relentlessly. Build them patiently. Build them until wealth becomes automatic. Because once you do, you will no longer struggle with impulse. You will no longer fight with saving. You will no longer live on the edge. You will be carried by your systems, protected by your routines, strengthened by your discipline. That is freedom. That is wealth. Habits are the engine. Discipline is the fuel. And your future is the destination. Now you understand why habits matter. Now you understand why the wealthy are not lucky. They are disciplined. You have learned the system. You have learned the structure. But there's one more truth you must face. Knowledge without action is nothing. So the next step is not just building habits. The next step is learning the language of money itself. Because habits without knowledge can only take you so far. And that's where we go next. Chapter 5. Learn the language of money. If you want freedom, you must learn the language of money. Money has a language. It speaks. It has rules, patterns, laws. And if you don't understand that language, money will control you. It will confuse you. It will punish you. That's why so many people stay broke. They refuse to study. They refuse to learn. They spend years learning entertainment, learning gossip, learning distractions, but they never learn money. And then they wonder why they struggle. They wonder why they are trapped. You have a choice. You can remain financially illiterate, or you can become fluent in the language of money. That choice will decide your future. The disciplined study. The careless pay. This is the truth. The disciplined mind studies. The careless mind pays the price. The disciplined take time to understand interest, debt, compounding, investing. The careless ignore it and then suffer. The disciplined learn how money moves. The careless just move their money out of fear and impulse. That's why financial intelligence is not optional. It's survival. Think about debt. If you don't understand how interest works, you become a victim of it. A $5,000 credit card balance at 20% interest doubles in less than 4 years if you don't pay it. That's the punishment for ignorance. But if you do understand how compound interest works, you can flip the equation. You can let your investments double every 7 to 10 years. That's the reward for discipline. Same system, same math, but one pays, one collects. The difference is knowledge. Money is a language of rules. Money is not emotional. Money doesn't care about your feelings. Money follows rules. And if you don't know the rules, you lose. Rule number 1. Money flows to discipline. Always. If you are disciplined, money finds you, grows with you, serves you. If you are careless, money leaves you. That's the rule. Rule number 2. Money rewards patience. If you rush, you lose. If you wait, you win. That's the discipline. Rule number 3. Money multiplies through knowledge. The more you understand the game, the more you can win. Ignorance is the most expensive mistake you can make. The cost of ignorance: people pay thousands of dollars in bank fees, overdraft charges, and credit card interest simply because they don't understand the rules. That's the price of financial ignorance. Lifestyle inflation, when income rises but spending rises faster, is another trap of ignorance. People think earning more means freedom, but they don't understand how to direct money with discipline. So they earn more, but remain broke. And impulsive investing is the biggest example of all. People hear hype, see headlines, watch others make money, and they jump in blind. They don't understand risk. They don't understand markets. They don't understand value. And then they lose. The disciplined investor studies. The disciplined saver learns. The disciplined builder takes time to understand before acting. Remember this. You are already paying for your financial education, either with time or with mistakes. One way or another, you pay. The question is, do you pay in advance with learning, or do you pay later with regret? How to learn the language of money. You don't need a finance degree. You don't need Wall Street training. But you do need commitment. You do need discipline. Here's how you start. Read one book on money every month. Not social media posts. Not quick tips. A real book. Read and study. Make it a habit. Track your money daily. Even 5 minutes of awareness trains your brain to see money as a language, not a mystery. Study the masters. Watch what disciplined investors do. Learn from their patience, their strategy, their long-term thinking. Practice with small amounts. Don't wait until you have a fortune. Invest $50, $100, $500. Learn the process. Discipline comes from experience. These actions may seem small, but they build fluency. They build understanding. And once you understand, money no longer intimidates you. It serves you. Discipline is the translator. Knowledge alone is not enough. You must combine knowledge with discipline, because even the smartest person can fail if they lack control. Discipline is what applies knowledge. Discipline is what protects knowledge. Without discipline, knowledge turns into arrogance. With discipline, knowledge turns into power. Remember, the disciplined mind studies. The careless mind pays the price. Real freedom comes from understanding. Think about this. If you don't know how money works, every decision is a gamble. You fear every emergency. You fear every expense. You live in stress because you are blind. But when you know the rules, you feel peace. You know why you save. You know why you invest. You know why patience pays. And that peace is freedom. Wealthy people are not lucky. They are not chosen. They are not special. They are fluent in money. They know the rules. They respect the rules. They play by the rules with discipline. That is the difference. That is the path. You have to make a decision. Will you remain financially illiterate, living by impulse, paying for ignorance? Or will you discipline yourself to study, to learn, to become fluent in the language of money? You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone's approval. You just need the discipline to start. Because the truth is simple. If you learn the language of money, you will never be powerless again. Wealth is not a mystery. Wealth is a language. And now it's time to study it relentlessly. Remember, the disciplined mind studies. The careless mind pays the price. That is the law. That is the discipline. That is the freedom. You now understand the importance of learning money. But knowledge is not enough without focus. Because the world will distract you, tempt you, and pull you in every direction. And if you fall for the noise, your discipline will collapse. That's why the next chapter matters more than ever. It's time to eliminate distractions, ignore the noise, and lock in on the long game. Chapter 6. Eliminate noise. Focus on the long game. Noise is the enemy of wealth. Distraction is the destroyer of discipline. If you want freedom, you must cut the noise and lock into the long game. Most people fail because they live in reaction. They react to trends. They react to hype. They react to what everyone else is doing. And every reaction costs them discipline. Every reaction costs them money. Noise keeps you broke. Focus makes you free. That is the law. The trap of noise. Every day, you are surrounded by noise. Social media headlines screaming the next hot stock. Friends telling you about quick money. Advertisements pushing new gadgets, new clothes, new upgrades. Noise demands urgency. Noise says, act now or you'll miss out. But discipline whispers, wait, watch, stay the course. When you chase the noise, you lose the game. You buy when everyone else is excited. You sell when everyone else is afraid. You spend when everyone else is showing off. That's why the undisciplined stay broke. Noise is poison. It distracts you from the long game. The long game is quiet. The long game doesn't look exciting. The long game is silent, boring, steady. That's why so few people commit to it. The long game is saving month after month, even when nobody notices. The long game is investing in index funds, real estate, or your business consistently, not chasing hype. The long game is saying no to short-term dopamine so you can say yes to long-term freedom. The long game doesn't make headlines. The long game doesn't get applause, but the long game wins. Always. Look at the wealthiest investors in history. Warren Buffett didn't build his fortune chasing noise. He built it by holding, waiting, compounding. Quiet discipline. Decades of focus. That's the long game. Discipline versus distraction. You have to make a choice every single day. Will I live by discipline, or will I live by distraction? Discipline says, stay the course. Distraction says, look here, look there. Jump now. Discipline says, focus on the plan. Distraction says, follow the crowd. Discipline builds wealth. Distraction destroys it. Every purchase you make, every investment you consider, every goal you set, ask yourself, is this long game or is this noise? That's the test. That's the filter. That's the power. Real-world traps of noise credit card debt. Noise tells you, buy it now, pay later. The long game says, wait, earn it first. Control your spending. Lifestyle inflation. Noise tells you, you deserve more because you earn more. The long game says, keep expenses steady. Let wealth grow quietly. Impulsive investing. Noise tells you, jump on this new trend, don't miss out. The long game says, stick to proven strategies. Compounding will make you rich. Every noise has the same goal, to break your discipline. Every distraction has the same outcome, to keep you broke. Control the input, control the outcome. If you want to eliminate noise, you must control what you allow into your mind. Because what you feed your mind becomes your focus. Stop scrolling endlessly. Stop chasing the opinions of broke people. Stop letting headlines dictate your financial moves. Instead, fill your mind with truth. Read books on wealth. Study real strategies. Surround yourself with disciplined people. Remember this, the mind you train becomes the life you build. Garbage in, garbage out. Discipline in, freedom out. The discipline of silence. Silence is power. When you eliminate noise, you hear what matters. You hear your plan. You hear your vision. You hear your discipline. Most people can't stand silence. That's why they fill their lives with noise. Music, media, gossip, trends. Silence forces them to face themselves. But silence is where discipline grows. Silence is where clarity lives. Practice silence daily. No phone, no media. Just you, your thoughts, your goals. That is how you build mental toughness. That is how you strengthen your focus. Focus is a weapon. Focus is not optional. Focus is your weapon against distraction. Without focus, you scatter your energy. You scatter your money. You scatter your life. With focus, you direct your energy like a laser. You build wealth in one direction. You build discipline one step at a time. You don't need to do everything. You don't need to chase everything. You need to master one thing, stick to it, and let it compound. That is the long game. That is the discipline. The hard truth about noise feels good. It feels exciting. It feels like momentum. But it's an illusion. The reality is this. Most people are addicted to noise. They can't sit still. They can't stay patient. They can't hold the line. That's why they never win. The disciplined ignore the crowd. The disciplined ignore the hype. The disciplined stay focused. That's why they win. You have to choose. Will you be addicted to noise or will you be addicted to focus? One destroys, the other builds. Your command. Eliminate noise. Focus on the long game. From this moment forward, cut the noise. Stop listening to broke advice. Stop reacting to hype. Stop living in distraction. Build a long game plan. Stick to it. Repeat it daily. That is how wealth is built. That is how freedom is earned. Control the noise, control the outcome. Focus on the long game. Focus on your freedom. You have now eliminated noise. You have learned the power of focus. But the next challenge is deeper. Because wealth is not just about numbers, it is about energy. It is about discipline with your most precious resource, your time. That's where we go next. Chapter 7. Time is the real currency. Money is important, but money is not the ultimate currency. The real currency is time. You can lose money and earn it back. You can make mistakes and recover financially. But once time is gone, it's gone forever. No second chance, no refund, no reset. That's why disciplined people don't just protect their money, they protect their time. That's why wealth is not measured only in dollars. It's measured in freedom over your hours, your days, your life. The broke sell their time cheaply. The wealthy guard their time fiercely. That is the difference. That is the discipline. Time spent versus time invested. Here is the law. Every hour of your life is either wasted, spent, or invested. Wasted is scrolling, gossiping, distracting yourself with noise. Zero return, zero value. Spent is working just to pay bills, trading your life away without building freedom. Invested is using your time to build skills, to create assets, to grow your wealth, to multiply your freedom. Most people waste time. Some people spend it. The disciplined invest it. If you want freedom, you must treat every hour as sacred. You must guard your time like treasure, because that's what it is, the only treasure you can never replace. The hidden cost of wasting time. Think about this. The average person spends hours a day on their phone, on social media, on entertainment. They are not just wasting minutes, they are wasting their life. Every hour wasted is wealth destroyed. Every hour wasted is freedom delayed. The undisciplined say, it's just an hour. But an hour every day is 365 hours a year. That's over 9 work weeks, lost, wasted, gone forever. Imagine what 365 hours could do if invested into building a business, learning money, training your mind. That difference is the gap between broke and wealthy. That difference is the gap between slavery and freedom. Trading time for money. Most people never escape because they only know how to trade time for money. They sell hours at a fixed rate. And when the hours stop, the money stops. That is not freedom. That is a trap. Wealth is built when you stop trading time for money and start making money work for you. That's why investments matter. That's why assets matter. That's why building systems matters. The disciplined person says, I will use my time today to build something that pays me tomorrow. The undisciplined says, I will waste my time today and hope tomorrow is better. Discipline builds. Weakness wastes. That's the truth. Real-world examples of time discipline. The overworker works 70 hours a week but never invests, never learns, never builds. Busy but broke. Time wasted. The scroller loses 2 to 3 hours a day on entertainment. Says they don't have time to study money. But they do, it's wasted. The builder works but also learns, saves, invests, creates. They don't waste their nights, they use them. And in time, they escape the trap. Same 24 hours. Different choices. Different destinies. You have the same time as everyone else. The question is, what will you do with it? Control your schedule. Control your life. The undisciplined live on other people's schedules. They say yes to everything. They let anyone take their time. They are always busy but never free. The disciplined say no. They protect their hours. They design their days. They control their calendar. Remember, every yes to distraction is a no to freedom. Every yes to impulse is a no to wealth. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to please everyone. You need to protect your time like it is gold, because it is. The illusion of being busy. Busy is not the same as productive. Most people are busy. Few are productive. Busy means you are reacting. Busy means you are chasing noise. Busy means you are running in circles with no progress. Productive means you are moving closer to freedom. Productive means you are investing time in discipline, in assets, in growth. Ask yourself daily, am I busy or am I productive? Am I spending time or am I investing it? That awareness is the difference between mediocrity and mastery. Discipline turns time into wealth. Discipline is the multiplier. Without discipline, time slips away. With discipline, time compounds. Think of compound interest, but applied to your hours. If you invest 1 hour a day in wealth, in learning, in building, those hours stack. They compound into skills, into opportunities, into freedom. But if you waste 1 hour a day, those losses compound too. They multiply into regret, into poverty, into wasted potential. Control your time, control your life. That is not just a slogan, it is the truth. The rich think in decades. Here is the mindset shift. Stop thinking in days. Stop thinking in weeks. Stop even thinking in years. Think in decades. The undisciplined mind says, I need results now. The disciplined mind says, I will invest my time now, so in 10 years I will be free. The undisciplined chase instant gratification. The disciplined play the long game. That is why the disciplined win. Time rewards patience, always. Your command. Treat time as wealth from now on. Treat every hour like money. Ask yourself, is this hour wasted, spent, or invested? If it's wasted, cut it. If it's spent, minimize it. If it's invested, maximize it. Your freedom depends on this choice. Your wealth depends on this choice. Your life depends on this choice. Time is the real currency. Treat it with discipline, and it will buy you freedom. Waste it, and it will cost you everything. You have now faced the truth. Money is important, but time is greater. Time is the foundation of all wealth. But here's the challenge. Discipline with time requires discipline with yourself. You must master not only your hours, but your entire identity, and that is where we go next. Chapter 8. Build an identity of discipline. Discipline is not just what you do. Discipline is who you are. You cannot fake it. You cannot pretend. If discipline is only an act, it will collapse the moment life gets hard. But if discipline is your identity, nothing can shake it. That is the secret of lasting wealth. That is the secret of freedom. You don't just practice discipline, you become discipline. Behavior versus identity. Most people try to change their behavior. They say, I'll save money this month. They say, I'll be disciplined with spending. They say, I'll invest consistently. But identity is stronger than behavior. If your identity is weak, your behavior will collapse. If deep down you still see yourself as careless, as impulsive, as broke, you will always sabotage yourself. You have to rebuild your identity. You have to decide, I am disciplined. I am the kind of person who controls money, who controls time, who controls myself. Because when it becomes who you are, you no longer fight every decision. You live it. You breathe it. You embody it. The discipline identity test. Here's the test. When nobody is watching, do you still choose discipline? Do you still track your money when nobody cares? Do you still say no to unnecessary purchases when nobody notices? Do you still protect your time when nobody applauds you? That is the test of identity. Behavior can be for show. Identity is who you are when no one is looking. The disciplined don't need applause. They don't need recognition. They live their identity in silence. Quiet, consistent, relentless. The 3 pillars of a disciplined identity. Consistency over intensity. The undisciplined chase quick fixes. The disciplined build small habits that last decades. Principles over feelings. Feelings change. Principles do not. The disciplined live by principles, not moods. Vision over validation. The undisciplined seek applause. The disciplined seek freedom. They don't need permission. These 3 pillars make discipline permanent. They turn action into identity. Real-world identity shifts. Think about the spender who always says, I'm just bad with money. That belief keeps them broke. Think about the procrastinator who says, I'm just lazy. That identity keeps them stuck. Now think about the builder who says, I am disciplined. I am focused. I am patient. That identity changes everything. When the spender gets paid, they waste. When the procrastinator gets time, they lose it. But when the builder gets opportunity, they multiply it. Identity drives destiny. Always. Repetition builds identity. How do you build a disciplined identity? Through repetition. Through small, consistent actions repeated daily until they become who you are. Every time you save instead of spend, you are voting for your new identity. Every time you invest instead of wasting, you are proving your new identity. Every time you wake up and control your time, you are becoming discipline itself. One vote at a time. One choice at a time. Until there is no doubt left, this is who you are. Identity versus environment. Here's the danger. Your environment is constantly trying to shape your identity. Friends, family, society, they will try to label you. They will try to keep you weak. You've always been a spender. You can't change. Just live a little. Stop being so serious. That is the voice of weakness. That is the voice of mediocrity. You don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You must reject their labels and choose your own. Say it clearly. I am disciplined. I am building wealth. I am building freedom. The environment will resist. But if you stay consistent, they will adjust. Eventually, even they will see you differently, because you became different. Discipline is freedom embodied. When discipline becomes identity, you no longer think twice about your choices. You don't debate whether to waste or save. You don't question whether to invest or distract yourself. You act from identity. And your identity is discipline. That is freedom. Freedom from temptation. Freedom from weakness. Freedom from self-sabotage. Discipline is not chains. Discipline is who you are when you are free. The undisciplined identity. The undisciplined say, I can't change. I don't have control. I'm just unlucky. That identity keeps them broke, powerless, weak. The disciplined say, I control myself. I control my time. I control my money. That identity makes them unstoppable. The difference is not in talent. The difference is not in luck. The difference is in identity. Your command, become disciplined. From this moment forward, stop trying to act disciplined. Become disciplined. Change your language. Change your beliefs. Change your identity. You are not someone trying to build wealth. You are a wealth builder. You're not someone trying to control spending. You are disciplined with money. You are not someone trying to use time wisely. You are the master of your hours. That is who you are now. That is who you must become. Because when discipline is your identity, nothing can shake you. Nothing can break you. Nothing can stop you. You now understand the power of identity. Discipline is not a trick, not a hack, not a temporary effort. Discipline is who you are. But to protect that identity, you need an environment that matches your vision. You need to build a circle that supports your discipline, and that is where we go next. Chapter 9. Build a circle of discipline. Show me your circle, and I will show you your future. You can be disciplined alone for a while, but if your environment is weak, if your circle is careless, your identity will be attacked every single day. That's why discipline is not just personal, it's social. The people around you can make or break your freedom. The undisciplined surround themselves with noise. The disciplined build a circle of strength. That's the difference. That's the discipline. Environment shapes identity. You may not notice it, but your circle is shaping you. When your friends waste money, you are tempted to waste. When your peers gossip and distract themselves, you are pulled to do the same. When your circle avoids growth, your ambition gets weaker. Identity is fragile in the wrong environment. You cannot grow discipline in a circle of chaos. If you want freedom, you need to be ruthless about your circle. Ruthless about who you let close. Because your circle is not just company, it is your future. The cost of a weak circle. Look around. The careless always travel in groups. Broke friends push broke habits. Undisciplined circles normalize weakness. They normalize debt. Everyone has it. They normalize wasting weekends. It's just fun. They normalize impulsive spending. You deserve it. And then they wonder why they are trapped. They wonder why they are stuck. But the truth is simple. If you sit at a table of broke thinkers, you will become broke. If you surround yourself with distracted people, you will become distracted. Weak circles build weak lives. The power of a disciplined circle. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine sitting at a table with builders, with disciplined minds, with people who value freedom over distraction. They normalize saving. They normalize investing. They normalize long-term thinking. Suddenly, discipline is not strange. It's standard. Suddenly, growth is not lonely. It's normal. That is the power of a disciplined circle. They lift you higher. They protect your identity. They reinforce your values. You don't need many. You need the right few. Don't think you need a huge network. You don't. You don't need hundreds of friends. You need a few disciplined allies. A small circle of clarity. One disciplined mentor is more valuable than 50 careless friends. One disciplined partner is more powerful than 100 distracted voices. You don't need more people. You need the right people. How to build your circle of discipline. Audit your current circle. Look at the 5 people closest to you. Do they build or destroy? Do they waste or invest? That is your mirror. That is your future. Cut without apology. If someone pulls you down, you must create distance. You don't need their permission. You don't need their approval. Your freedom matters more. Seek builders. Find people committed to discipline. They may be rare. They may be quiet, but they exist. Look for them in communities, in books, in mentors. Contribute back. Don't just take. Give discipline back to your circle. Be the example. Be the standard. A disciplined circle is not found. It is built. Choice by choice. Connection by connection. The resistance. You will face, when you change your circle, people will resist. They will say you've changed. They will say you're arrogant. They will say you've forgotten them. Understand this. They are not upset because you changed. They are upset because you expose their weakness. Your growth will trigger their guilt. Your discipline will highlight their chaos. That's why they resist. That's why they push back. But remember, you don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You are not here to please them. You are here to build freedom. Silence is better than weak company. If you cannot find a disciplined circle yet, choose silence over weakness. Better to walk alone in strength than to drown in careless company. In silence, you will grow. In silence, you will hear your vision. In silence, you will build the foundation for the right circle to appear. Don't fear solitude. Fear weakness disguised as friendship. Real-world examples. The young professional who stays broke because every weekend is spent with a careless circle, drinking, partying, wasting. The disciplined builder who leaves that circle spends weekends learning, working, saving, and in 5 years, his life is unrecognizable. The entrepreneur who joins a disciplined mastermind, surrounded by focused people, and multiplies his wealth because his environment fuels him. Same potential. Different circles. Different destinies. Your command, build ruthlessly from this moment forward. Be ruthless with your circle. Audit. Cut. Build. Surround yourself with people who are disciplined with money, disciplined with time, disciplined with life. Reject the careless, reject the noisy, reject the weak. Because your circle is your mirror, and your mirror decides your future. Discipline is not just what you do, it's who you surround yourself with. You have now built your circle of discipline. You have protected your identity, your environment, your future. But the final step remains, the discipline of patience. Because without patience, all your effort collapses. That's where we go next. Chapter 10. Wealth is patience compounded. Everyone wants wealth fast. Everyone wants success fast. Everyone wants results fast. But the truth is simple. Fast wealth is fake wealth. Fast success is fragile success. Real wealth is slow. Real wealth is patient. Real wealth is compounded discipline, multiplied over time. If you want freedom, you must master patience. Because without patience, all your discipline will collapse. Without patience, all your effort will vanish. That's the final truth. That's the discipline that separates the rich from the broke. Why patience builds and impatience destroys. Impatience is the enemy of discipline. Impatience pushes you to quit too soon. Impatience tempts you into shortcuts. Impatience convinces you that discipline isn't working. But here's the reality. The results of discipline are invisible at first. The seeds you plant take time. The investments you make take time. The habits you build take time. Impatience says, nothing is happening. Discipline says, keep going. Compounding is invisible until it's unstoppable. That's the key. That's the difference. The power of compounding. Compounding is the silent engine of wealth. Small actions repeated with discipline multiplied by time. Save $10 a day for 10 years and you have more than $36,000. Invest $500 a month for 20 years and you cross into six figures, even with average returns. Read one book a week for 10 years and your knowledge is worth more than any degree. Compounding is boring at first, invisible in the middle, but undeniable in the end. That's why patience is wealth. That's why impatience is poverty. Real-world examples. Think about Warren Buffett. His billions didn't come in his 20s. They came after decades of disciplined investing. His wealth is compounding plus patience. Think about the entrepreneur who keeps reinvesting profits instead of cashing out too soon. In 10 years, his company dominates while the impatient competitor is bankrupt. Think about your own life. Every time you gave up early, every time you demanded fast results, you killed compounding. You killed your own freedom. The undisciplined mind falls for speed. The disciplined mind commits to patience. Impatience is a debt trap. Why do people fall into credit card debt? Impatience. They want the lifestyle now. They want the status now. They want the pleasure now, and then they pay for years, paying interest, paying stress, paying regret. Debt is the price of impatience. Freedom is the reward of patience. Never forget that. Patience in building habits. Wealth is not only money. Wealth is health. Wealth is focus. Wealth is peace. And all of it requires patience. The gym won't show results in a week. Meditation won't transform you in a day. Building discipline won't feel easy in a month, but if you stay patient, if you keep showing up, compounding takes over. Suddenly you are stronger. Suddenly you are calmer. Suddenly you are freer. That's the invisible magic of patience. How to train. Patience. Patience is not a personality trait. It's a skill, and like every skill, it must be trained. Delay gratification. Daily, small delays build patience. Wait before spending. Pause before reacting. Choose the long term over the short term. Track long-term wins. Journal your progress. Celebrate consistency, not just outcomes. Seeing your streaks builds belief in compounding. Cut out distractions. Impatience thrives in noise. Delete the apps, cut the hype, reject the false promise of fast success. Anchor your vision. Every time you feel restless, remind yourself of your long-term freedom. Patience is easier when the vision is clear. Train it daily. Build it like a muscle. The resistance to patience. The world hates patience. Society is built on speed, on distraction, on instant gratification. Ads scream at you, now! Fast, immediate! But you must resist. You must remember, what is fast will not last. What is slow will grow. Yes, you will feel restless. Yes, you will feel like nothing is happening. But that's the exact moment you must double down. That's the exact moment discipline proves itself. Patience is not weakness. Patience is power. You have a choice. You can choose impatience. You can keep chasing quick money, quick results, quick validation, and you will stay trapped. You will stay broke. You will stay restless, or you can choose patience. You can choose discipline. You can choose compounding, and you will build freedom that cannot be destroyed. That is your choice. That is your power. The final discipline started with control. Discipline grew with focus. Discipline built with saving, habits, and environment. But patience is the final discipline. Without it, everything collapses. With it, everything compounds. So remember this phrase. Repeat it until it becomes your identity. Wealth is patience compounded. Impatience is poverty multiplied. That's the law. That's the truth. That's the discipline. You now understand the final secret. You now hold the last key. Discipline is wealth. Wealth is patience. And patience is freedom. You've built control. You've built focus. You've built saving, habits, knowledge, environment. And now, you've built patience. The foundation is complete. The mind is ready. The freedom is near. Let's close this journey together. Let's lock in the lesson. The final command of discipline. Wealth is not luck. Wealth is not talent. Wealth is not magic. Wealth is discipline. You have heard the truth. Control your impulses, save relentlessly, build habits, protect your circle, and above all, master patience. That is the formula. That is the way. Every dollar you waste is slavery. Every impulse you control is freedom. Every habit you repeat is compounding. Every moment of patience is wealth multiplying in silence. The undisciplined live for today. The disciplined build forever. The undisciplined chase comfort. The disciplined chase freedom. The undisciplined make excuses. The disciplined make wealth. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need luck. You need discipline. That's the command. That's the law. So I leave you with one final challenge. Starting today, live as if discipline is your only path, because it is. Master yourself. Control the impulse. Protect your circle. Be patient. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is wealth. Begin now and never stop.